At 6 in the morning, Sarah's hands moved swiftly in the kitchen. A sweet aroma wafted up from the frying pan. This morning, she was making pancakes, her son David's favorite. Outside the window, the refreshing May breeze, just before Memorial Day, gently swayed the white lace curtains. Smells good. Today's pancakes look rounder than usual. Sarah turned at the sound of David's voice as he came down the stairs. His tall frame, impressive for a high school sophomore, instantly identified him as the ace of North Hills High School's varsity basketball team. David settled onto the kitchen counter, loosening his uniform tie. The gesture was identical to that of his father, whom they had lost in an accident 16 years ago. While brewing Folger's coffee, Sarah gazed at her son's profile. He seemed to have matured so suddenly lately. It's the semifinals today, isn't it? Right. Against Riverside High. It'll be tough, but I really want to win. I heard scouts are coming too. David paused, his eyes catching the flashy pink invitation stuck to the refrigerator. Lisa's 40th birthday party, at Olive Garden, was written in glamorous lettering, covered in glittery decorations presumably bought at Party City. His expression clouded slightly at that moment. Are you going to Aunt's party? I wish you could come watch my basketball game. The last words were barely audible. Well, I need to look after Jimmy, and... Sarah's voice trailed off. Her relationship with her sister Lisa had grown increasingly cold in recent years. Lisa, now a popular beautician boasting hundreds of thousands of social media followers, made no effort to understand her sister's struggles as a single mother. While her Instagram was filled with daily posts of her glamorous life, it was Sarah and David who essentially took care of her 8-year-old son Jimmy. I'll take him then. I bought his favorite Eggo waffles too. David stood up after finishing his pancakes in one go. It was their daily routine. He had volunteered to take Jimmy to school every morning while Lisa was busy at the beauty salon. Sometimes he even helped with homework. David, thank you. But don't overdo it. It's fine. Jimmy's on my way anyway. Besides... David smiled somewhat shyly. I've always wanted something like a little brother. Watching her sons retreating back, Sarah felt her heart warm. The son she had raised desperately after her husband's accident had surely inherited his father's kindness. Her phone rang, displaying her mother Margaret's name. Sarah hesitated for a moment before answering. Sarah, you'll help with party preparations today, won't you? We need to pick up Lisa's special order cake from Macy's. And the decorations from Party City. Sarah sighed deeply at her mother's domineering voice. I'm sorry, Mom. I have work. Well, family should come before work, shouldn't it? It's Lisa's birthday. You need to think about your sister. Even in this context, Sarah painfully understood that Margaret's definition of family didn't include her and David. Since losing her husband, her mother's attitude had gradually changed. Her favoritism toward Lisa, the youngest, was now blatantly obvious. In the afternoon, while Sarah was organizing documents at the Ross Township Real Estate office, she received a message from David. Going to buy Aunt's present with Jimmy. We'll be back in about 2 hours. Looking at perfume at Macy's. Lisa had replied to that message. Just make sure you're not late to the party. It'll kill the mood. All my followers are waiting. At 5 p.m., David was holding a Macy's paper bag in Jimmy's small hand. He had rushed to go shopping still in his basketball uniform. Do you think Mom will like it? Definitely. It's your mom's favorite brand. She posted about it on Instagram, remember? David smiled kindly. The basketball game had ended in a close victory. The scouts' response had been positive, and the coach had shown a proud expression. Now, he had successfully chosen a present with his nephew. All that was left was to shower and head to the party. Oh, right. Jimmy, want to stop by the ice cream shop? Jimmy's eyes lit up. But at that moment, an unusual sound filled the air. The roar of an engine revving. Music blasting from speakers like an explosion. David instinctively looked toward the sound. A red sports car came careening into the parking lot, swerving out of control at high speed. Later, it would be revealed as a tragedy caused by young people's dangerous driving games. Jimmy stopped and stared in that direction. People around them screamed and scattered. Jimmy! David's voice rang out. The paper bag flew through the air. The sound of glass breaking. The sweet scent of expensive perfume briefly filled the air. The next moment, David's large body had pushed Jimmy away, shielding him. The small body rolled onto the grass. Someone screamed. Police sirens. Amid the chaos, David managed a faint smile before losing consciousness, having confirmed Jimmy was safe. Sarah's phone rang again. This time, from an unknown number. Though she was at work, she had an ominous feeling. This is Pittsburgh Police. The blood drained from her face at those words. A pen rolled off her desk. There's been an accident at Ross Park Mall. David Williams has been taken by ambulance. He's currently en route to UPMC Passavant Hospital emergency room. The words that followed seemed hazy, as if coming from far away. Only one phrase pierced her consciousness: critical condition. After hurriedly explaining the situation to her supervisor, Sarah's car sped through the quiet residential streets of Ross Township at an unusual speed. Even the few seconds waiting for traffic lights to turn green felt like an eternity. She passed police cars along the way. Ambulance sirens wailed in the distance. David. David. Her hands trembled on the steering wheel as she repeated his name like a prayer. At the hospital, a young resident doctor guided her to the operating room entrance. Blood stains were visible on his white coat sleeve. Mrs. Williams, your son is currently in emergency surgery. His condition is critical. We wanted you to come as quickly as possible. David, my son, he'll be all right, won't he? There was no answer. The doctor lowered his eyes apologetically. The red lamp above the operating room glowed cold as blood. Sitting in the hard waiting room chair, Sarah picked up her phone. With trembling fingers, she dialed her mother's number. She misdialed several times. Mom, my son, there's been an accident. How much courage it took to speak those words. On the other end of the phone, loud pop music was playing. The sound of clinking glasses. Laughter. It's Lisa's birthday today. We were just about to open the champagne. The party's really getting going. Margaret's voice showed not a hint of concern. If anything, she seemed annoyed at the interruption. Hey, don't kill the mood. We're live streaming on social media. Lisa's voice, having grabbed the phone. In the background, someone shouted, "Happy birthday," followed by cheers. The pop of a champagne cork. Words of celebration. Laughter. And the photographer's voice saying, "Okay, pose." Sarah silently hung up. A deep silence fell. Only the ticking of the clock's second hand mercilessly marked time's passage. Outside, it had grown completely dark. The fluorescent lights in the hallway illuminated the space with an surreal whiteness. Nurses checked on her several times. "Do you need anything?" But Sarah had no energy to respond. She just vaguely thought about the pancakes she had made that morning. Who could have known it would be their last breakfast together? The operating room light went out, and the door opened. The surgeon's expression as he removed his mask told everything. Other medical staff lowered their eyes. "I'm so sorry, we did everything we could." The doctor's words seemed distant, as if coming through water. The injuries had been severe. Serious internal damage, massive blood loss. Multiple cardiac arrests during surgery. On the bed covered with a white sheet, David's hand was still warm. But it would never grip back again. His long eyelashes were peaceful, as if he were just sleeping. The fact that he had drawn his last breath alone, with no one by his side, tore Sarah's heart into 1,000 pieces. In the hospital hallway, her legs gave way. Leaning against the white wall, her consciousness sank into a deep, deep darkness. The last thing she saw was an unread message displayed on her phone screen. Lisa's party photos stared back at her with innocent smiles. The post already had hundreds of likes. The nurses' voices faded away. Just before losing consciousness, Sarah wondered if this was reality or a nightmare. Morning sunlight streamed into the hospital hallway. She had remained in the same chair even after regaining consciousness. A young police officer quietly approached her. Probably mainly assigned to desk work, his uniform collar looked slightly worn. "If you're able to discuss the details of the accident." Sarah slowly raised her face. Deep shadows were etched under her eyes. "We've reviewed the security camera footage." The officer continued carefully, choosing his words. "The surveillance cameras at Ross Park Mall captured the entire incident. The red sports car appears to have been attempting a dangerous driving maneuver known as the Drift Challenge, which has been trending on social media." The officer took out a tablet and played the footage. Though the quality was grainy, everything was clearly recorded. David holding the shopping bag, holding Jimmy's hand as they walked. The sudden erratic driving. And the moment David unhesitatingly pushed Jimmy away. "We've also gathered witness statements." The officer opened his notebook. According to one housewife who was present, that high school student was undoubtedly a hero. To protect that little boy, he gave his own life. His voice broke off. The officer seemed unable to contain his emotions. At that moment, hurried footsteps echoed in the hallway. "Mrs. Williams." A young nurse came running. "Jimmy has regained consciousness." Sarah stood up. Her legs wavered. The officer supported her. The hallway to the ICU felt strangely long. The smell of disinfectant stung her nose. The regular beeping of heart monitors could be heard. "Auntie." At Jimmy's small voice, tears spilled from Sarah's eyes. The small body lying in the bed. Bandages wrapped around his forehead and 4 in his left arm. But he was surely alive. "David. David protected me." Jimmy's voice trembled. Sarah silently held Jimmy's hand. It was warm. Alive. The life that David had given his own to protect was certainly here. The attending physician approached. A middle-aged female doctor with tired eyes. "Jimmy's injuries are fortunately minor. He should be able to leave the hospital in a few days." David's quick thinking. She cut herself off, showing an apologetic expression. Sarah's smartphone vibrated. A social media notification sound. She instinctively looked at the screen. The post time was 5 p.m. yesterday. The exact moment David had the accident. The photo showed Margaret and Lisa smiling, raising champagne glasses. In the background, the words, "Happy 40th birthday." A decorated cake. The atmosphere of an upscale restaurant. The comments section was filled with congratulatory messages. The real world and the world of social media. The cruel contrast made Sarah's chest tighten. The nurse quietly informed her. "Your mother and Lisa have called several times." Sarah shook her head. She wasn't ready to see them yet. David's phone was returned by the police. On the lock screen remained the last message he had typed. "Mom, I'll make it back in time for Aunt Lisa's party. Hope she likes the perfume we picked out." That pure thoughtfulness sparked a determination in Sarah's heart. This was not the end. It was a beginning. The morning newspaper that the nurse gently handed over bore the headline, "Ross Park Mall Tragic Hero." Next to it was a photo of David in his North Hills High School basketball uniform. He was smiling broadly, arms around his teammates' shoulders. 3 days later, it was time for Jimmy's discharge. Sunlight through the window gently illuminated the white walls of the hospital room. Jimmy sat on the bed, spooning hospital jello. The bandage on his forehead had been removed, and the 4 had been taken out of his arm. Jimmy suddenly looked up at Sarah with a serious expression. "Can I talk about that day?" Sarah caught her breath. She knew this moment would come. Jimmy hadn't wanted to talk about the accident. The doctors had instructed not to push him, considering the psychological trauma. "Yes, of course." Jimmy opened the smartphone that had been sitting on his lap. Lisa's birthday party photos were displayed. "At this time, we were..." A chill ran down her spine. Post time, 5 p.m. "David and I were talking about going for ice cream. Because he won his game." Jimmy's voice was shaking. "Then there was this loud noise, and David pushed me." His words trailed off. His small hands were trembling. Suddenly, hurried footsteps were heard from the hallway. Lisa burst into the hospital room. No makeup. Disheveled hair. No trace of her usual perfect beautician appearance. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Lisa fell to her knees, clinging to Jimmy. Behind her, Margaret slowly entered. Her usual intimidating presence was gone, leaving her seeming small and withdrawn. "Sarah." Margaret spoke as if squeezing out the words. What have we done? That's when it happened. Haven't you deleted that post yet? Sarah's voice was cold as ice. What? The party photos. That post from the exact moment my son was losing his life. The air in the room froze. Lisa stumbled over her words. Were you too busy performing a perfect life for your social media followers? Was the sound of popping champagne more important than the news that my son was fighting for his life? Sarah's voice gradually rose. David thought of you until the very end. He even bought a present. She took out the broken perfume bottle from her bag. A faint scent lingered. But you all. Lisa suddenly stood up. No. I'm suffering too. Her voice was almost a scream. I have to be the perfect mom. The perfect beautician. I can't disappoint my followers. Always worried about what others think. Tears spilled out. I couldn't even properly take care of Jimmy, but I didn't want to admit it. I didn't want to show any weakness. So. Margaret placed a hand on her daughter's shoulder. It's my responsibility. Her mother's voice was softer than ever before. I spoiled Lisa too much. I neglected Sarah and David. I couldn't support my daughter who had lost her husband. Everything is this mother's. Sarah stopped Margaret as she tried to bow down in apology. That's enough. A quiet voice. I can't forgive everything. But. She looked out the window. The clear blue sky. The same sky David had seen last. But for Jimmy's sake, we need to maintain our relationship. That's what David would have wanted. Jimmy said in a small voice. David said at the end, we're family, so please get along. The atmosphere in the room began to change gradually. Lisa took out her smartphone and began touching the screen. I'm deleting the post. And. She took a deep breath. I'm planning to close the salon. I want to make time to properly be there for Jimmy. Margaret nodded silently. I need to change too. Sarah stood by the window, gazing into the distance. In her heart, she spoke to David. My son. I'll protect the people you held dear. So, rest easy. Outside, a wind announcing a new season was blowing. The day before Memorial Day, at Ross Township Cemetery. A year had passed. Sarah stood before the gravestone, holding a bouquet. The fresh green trees cast gentle dappled shadows, and a warm May breeze caressed her cheeks. The same season as when David had drawn his last breath. Turning around, she saw Jimmy running toward her. He had grown taller. He seemed to have grown a full size larger since that day. His uniform was from North Hills Middle School, David's alma mater's affiliated middle school. Jimmy, don't run. Lisa called out from behind him. Gone were her flashy clothes of old. She wore a simple dress. Her hair had been dyed back to a modest color. Sorry, Mom. Jimmy apologized sincerely. You could see how the relationship between mother and son had been gradually changing. Good morning, Sarah. Finally, Margaret walked up slowly. She held a bouquet in her hands. They said she never missed her weekly visits to David's grave. The three of them stood before David's gravestone. Warm words were engraved on the stone's surface. David Williams. Beloved son, cousin, and hero. Your love will guide us forever. David, guess what happened today? Jimmy began excitedly. I passed the basketball team tryouts. I'm going to work hard to become the team ace, just like David. Lisa placed her hand on her son's shoulder. She had closed her beauty salon and now worked at a local after-school program. Though her social media followers had drastically decreased, her bonds with real people had grown stronger. That's not all, Margaret said with quiet pride. The teacher called. Jimmy won first prize for his future dream report. Jimmy smiled shyly. I wrote that I want to become a paramedic. I want to be someone who can help people in trouble, just like David. Sarah smiled silently. Indeed, things were beginning to change. A week after the accident, when North Hills High School's basketball team won their game, every team member wore a patch with David's uniform number 23. That photo made the front page of the local newspaper. The university scouts took action too. Honoring David's academic achievement and his final courageous act, they established a scholarship fund. The David Williams Memorial Scholarship, a fund to support the future of children facing difficult circumstances. Hey, let's take a picture, Lisa suggested. No longer a photo for social media. With David too. Margaret carefully lifted a framed photo of David. His radiant smile in his basketball uniform. Okay, say cheese. As the shutter clicked, Jimmy pointed to the sky. The sunset peeked through the clouds, gently illuminating the gravestone. It was as if David wanted to be in the photo too. As they were leaving, Margaret spoke up. I've started volunteering at the nursing home every Wednesday. I thought I could be there for people who are feeling lonely. Lisa continued. I've also started a Heroes Project with the after-school kids. It's an initiative to help people in need in our community. I want to carry on David's spirit. Tears rolled down her cheeks. But unlike before, there was no makeup to run. There are still many things I can't forgive, Sarah said quietly. But we have to move forward. Because that's what David would have wanted, the three of them said in unison. Walking through the cemetery in the twilight, Sarah reflected. Her son had surely made this world a slightly kinder place. That feeling would continue. Mom. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's barbecue. Jimmy's voice brightly cut through the quiet air. Their Memorial Day tradition. From this year, the three families would hold it together. A new form of family was being built, slowly but surely. On the gravestone lit by the setting sun, a single flower petal danced in the wind. Under the same gentle-colored sky that David had looked up at on his final day.